Welcome back to the Henry Hudson Hour. Every city has people who remember it before the highways, before the skyscrapers, and before it became what we know today. Austin is no exception. My guest today has called Austin home since 1934. She's watched the city grow from a quiet college town where people left their doors unlocked and rode trolleys down Congress Avenue into one of the fast-growing cities in America. Along the way, she's lived through the Great Depression, World War II, decades of incredible change, and most recently, she got married at 91 years old. She's also someone who played a major role in my own life, helping raise me for several years when I was growing up. So today's conversation is both a journey through Austin's past and a chance for me to sit down with someone whose stories have shaped my own. We'll talk about old Austin, family traditions, folk art, love, growing older, and what nearly a century of life can teach us about happiness, resilience, and the importance of caring for one another. Whether you've lived in Austin your whole life or you've never been here, I hope you'll enjoy this conversation today. My guest today is my grandmother. How are you, Goody?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you, Henry.
We call our grandmother Goody, but her name is actually Pat Tyler. So I just wanted to clarify that. I know it sounds like a silly name. So you've lived in Austin since 1934, as I said. What do you remember most about the city?
But it was just such a friendly, open, easy place to live, and that most of us knew each other in our neighborhood and even downtown. My grandparents lived downtown on West 7th Street in San Antonio. One set of grandparents, my other grandparents lived on Whitest Avenue, about a block from the University of Texas, and we would go over and walk around the campus at night and never worried about a problem and left the doors open and just enjoyed the atmosphere being there. And then with my other grandmother who lived on West 7th and San Antonio, we would walk to Congress Avenue and walk up and down this avenue and look in the windows at all the pretty clothes and shoes, and we knew the merchants there and they knew us, and they would always welcome us into their store, and we would chat, and it was just a friendly city, which is used to be our name, Austin, the friendly city.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. I'm excited because I don't think very many people get to sit down with somebody who's watched one city grow for more than 90 years. When you picture Austin in your mind, what's the first image that comes to you?
Well, I think beautiful trees and the Capitol, the University Tower, they were both the tallest buildings in the town, and it seemed like at that time everything centered around that. We also had the governor's mansion, and Congress Avenue was important. There were parades, and people went to Congress Avenue to go to dinner and to go to the movie and to shop.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned some places that used to be open on Congress Avenue. You said there used to be a Sears and a few other stores where you knew the owners.
Yes, there was. We knew the owners of Dacey's Shoe Store, which was on Congress, and we all loved it because they had Buster Brown shoes, and we would go in there and you would put your foot in a little machine and it would show what size you wore, and you could see the outline of your foot, and for some reason that was very attractive to us as children. And then they also had adult shoes, and at that time my grandmother owned an interest in the building where Dacey's was, the block, I guess between 5th and 6th. And then we would go down to Scarborough's, which was 6th in Congress, and we knew the Scarborough family. They were all friends of my grandmother's, friends of my parents. And the youngest two Scarboroughs were friends of were my age. And so we would go in there and we'd be welcomed, and we knew the sales clerks, and we could tell them what we were looking for, and they'd get everything out for us that we might want. And it was a department store, so they had pretty much everything you might want. And then we would go to the middle store in that block, which was Marie Antoinette, and it was rather high fashion, and we knew the Ferrises who owned that store, and that was always a welcome place and had lovely things. And then the next store was Williams, T.H. Williams, and we knew the Williams, and it was another department store. So it was fun, and we looked forward to going to town and seeing those people. And there were banks, we knew the bankers, and two banks across the street, and a couple of cafeterias, and the movie theaters. There were 3 movie theaters on Congress.
Wow, it's kind of unimaginable now that it was so, like the center of the city, really, in that kind of way.
It certainly was.
Now it's sort of, North Congress is kind of dead these days, almost. It's
Yes,
not
I don't even go there. I mean, I don't want to go there because there's nothing there to go for. I mean, and plus you can't park. I have to go to the accountant and the lawyer downtown, and I dread both of those events because it's so complicated, and I don't recognize any of my old markers for where I turn, and I didn't ever learn the names of the streets. I just always knew where I was going.
Yeah. And you mentioned the flooded railroad bridge when you were a child.
Yes. Enfield Road was the major artery from downtown, which originally ended at West Avenue. And West Avenue, then 12th Street, was the street that ran from the Capitol up until, well, actually it ran all the way to West Lynn. But Enfield began right there at the same place off of Lamar, and we went, Enfield was the east-west corridor to get out to the lake, to Lake Austin. And so we lived on Enfield Road, and when we moved there in 1934, well, 35 really, it was not paved. And there was, the railroad ran over Enfield Road. There was a railroad bridge, and so there was a big dip in the street there on Enfield, and when we'd have a hard rain, that would flood, and it would fill up with water, and we couldn't get home. So we'd have to stop and turn around and go back. We had friends on West Avenue that had a house that always welcomed us, and we would spend the night there and wait for the water to subside so we could get home. And the Windsor Road, which is pretty much an extension of 24th Street, was another crosstown roads, but it was not as accessible as Enfield was, and also I lived on Enfield Road.
Right. As a kid, was that exciting or scary when? Oh,
it was fun.
Yeah, I bet.
Because we got to go see, and the family that we stayed with was my best friend, and so I was always happy to be able to go over there.
And you mentioned in the pre-interview some places that don't exist anymore that you miss. We talked about a couple of restaurants that you loved.
Yes, one of them was Caruso's, and it was just every Friday night we went to Caruso's, and our family and other relatives, cousins, and Austin folks went there on Friday. It was sort of a ritual, And for the Catholics, it was great because they had the most delicious fish in town. And actually, probably one of the only places that really had fish on the menu every day. And Mr. Caruso weighed about 300 pounds, and he had a special chair made for him. And he sat in it, and he watched everybody that came in the door, and every plate of food that went out. And he was very particular about his food. And we had our favorite server there named Ralph. I remember Ralph well. And we would go in and we'd get a plate of oysters to start with. And then we'd all order different, whatever we wanted, and sat at the same table and always had the same server. And the other restaurants that I miss was, well, there was an El Charro Mexican restaurant down on Red River, the original Spanish Village, and there was also not habaneros, but La Tapatio. And they all had really good Mexican food. And that was a Sunday night affair usually.
I see. And so people today, I mean, they probably can't imagine leaving their houses unlocked. People in Austin today, I think that that's so insane that it used to be that safe.
Well, it was. And, you know, the other thing that was so nice, we left the keys in the car. And, I mean, I don't remember ever worrying about locking the car. We just parked. It cost a nickel. And if you had to pay, in most places you didn't. And you could let your pets out. And we had always had dogs, and we just opened the door and let them outside, and they'd wander off and come back for dinner. And the dogs all lived outside, and so did the cats. And most of the animals, you know, were not. It certainly was a different situation to have an animal back then than it is now.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you strike me as someone who is always outside.
Yes, I love to be outside. And as, well, one of my favorite sport is tennis. And early on, my aunt was a tennis player, and so she encouraged me in that sport. And I would go outside as soon as I got home and get my tennis racket and hit the tennis ball against the garage door. And see how many times I could hit it before it went flying off somewhere. And then when my brothers came along, my dad would, when he got home from work, he would go outside and throw the football with them. So there was always some outdoor activity. And we kind of had a neighborhood block group. And we would explore because there were creeks around and arroyos. And really, west of our house, our home on Enfield, was vacant lots, just almost all the way to the lake. And of course, we've got the municipal golf course there. And so it was very wooded. And I actually had a horse in the backyard. I had a pony named Silver, of course, a Shetland pony. And I kept her in the backyard, and I would ride all around in the neighborhood. And there really weren't a lot of houses at that time. I mean, like I said, and you didn't worry about cars because there wasn't that much traffic.
So tell everyone what your uncle gave you for Christmas.
Oh, yeah. My uncle was a rancher, and he lived in Yorktown, Texas, and he knew that I loved animals, and we would always, he had lots and lots of animals, and he had homing pigeons, and he had chickens and horses and cows, And so he knew that I really loved those pigeons. So one Christmas, here he came from Yorktown in his pickup truck, and he brought this big box into the house and put it under the Christmas tree. And then he said, I don't think you ought to open that in the house. And of course that made me want to open it even more. And so I did, and out flew a pigeon. So anyway, we spent the rest of Christmas Eve trying to catch that pigeon. And it was a homing pigeon, and we built a little place for the pigeons to live. Well, there was more than one. And almost by the time it got finished, the pigeons had left and flown back to Yorktown. That was the end of my pigeons.
Oh, it's sad that they flew away. How old were you when America entered World War II?
Well, I was 10 years old in 44, and that's when it was over. So depending on when, the war when we first got into war, we went to England. Was that 38? So if it was 38, I was 4. If it was 40, I was 6. May have been 40. I'm not positive of the year.
Right. That's okay. And you told me something during our pre-interview that really stuck with me about going to the movies during that time.
Oh, yeah. We went to the movies a lot because our parents would let us ride the bus to town. And Saturday, they always had a matinee. And it was cheap, probably a dime or whatever. And parents felt comfortable letting their children go to the movie by themselves on Saturday. And we would go, and there was the State and the Paramount and the Queen. And mainly we went to the State and the Paramount. And every movie had a short. And the short was a little newsreel that they would show just like we see on the television news now. And it would be about the war. And it would be about the soldiers that had been captured in Bataan and Corregidor, and the soldiers in Germany that were in those terrible trenches and fighting. And then it would be about the Jews being persecuted and taken to camps, and I just would come home sobbing. And finally my father said, I just don't think you can go to the movie anymore because it makes you so sad. And I can still visualize that and think of those stories that they told about the war at that time. And the children all had we had a victory garden, and in our backyard, and they were called victory gardens, where you raised your own vegetables. And then also, my friends and we had a little play that we put together, and we charged $0.25 to come see it. And then we would donate the money to the cause for the Uncle Sam.
Wow. And was there ever an event in your life, like a world event, where you felt like everything changed overnight?
Well, we had bomb drills often at school, and we had to get under the desk, and there was always the fear that the war would come over here and we would be attacked. And I remember as a child going down to Port Aransas, and there was you had to be checked in to go out in a boat because they had sighted German submarines in the Gulf. And it was a very difficult time, and everybody was just on alarm. In the sense that frightened that more could happen, and it could happen to you. And I think, I remember the Cuban crisis, Cuban War, I went out and bought a whole lot of water and put it in the house in case the war came over here. We had fighting in Texas, and tried to prepare for a situation where we wouldn't have electricity and we wouldn't be able to use our water.
Most people don't expect to get married at the age of 91. So how did this happen?
All I can do is laugh. How do things like that happen? I think we just both realized that we wanted to be married, and we both figured out that we better hurry up and get married, and we did. We hurried up and got married, and we just, our lives had changed so many different times, our circumstances and what we were doing, and Jim lives in Santa Fe, and I live in Austin, and it seemed for a while that was the way we would live, and I have children, and he did not, and I have a big family, and he does not, and but all of a sudden, it seemed like the right thing to do. And I feel like that, I've always believed in the sacrament of marriage, and I believe that this was the intention, God's intention for us, and not that we could have children, but we just enjoy our life together.
And tell everyone about the story about how you and Jim met each other.
Well, when I was in P school, which is the oldest school in Austin, it just got, whatever you say, de-schooled in the last couple of years, I'm sad to say. It's now some business has taken it over. But we both went there, and he was 2 years older, 2 years ahead of me. And my mother had a little red Ford car, and unbeknownst to me, his mother had a little red Ford. And I ran out after school to jump in the car, which is what I always did when she picked me up. And I jumped in the car, and I realized it wasn't my mother. It was his mother. And so, sure enough, here he came, and I was embarrassed, and that's the first time we ever met. And we were in grade school together for a couple of years, and then when we got to high school, we acquainted, and he was best friends of my husband, my former husband, who was there in Austin High as well. So they had gone to school together. They'd gone to junior high together. So anyway, we double dated, and we had tons of fun. All went to the university, double dated in the university, and went to the same in fraternity and sorority parties. And I got Jim dates, and I was always with John, and then John and I got married, and Jim was the best man in our wedding. And Jim never married, and Jim moved to Santa Fe and has lived there ever since. But after I was divorced, he came to Austin to see me, and we had, saw each other and became romantic in time, and here we are.
What's the biggest lesson love has taught you?
Well, forgiveness, and that you don't have to be right.
And you love to collect folk art. You said that in the pre-interview that there were a couple pieces that have stories behind them, funny stories. Did you want to tell one of those stories?
Sure, I can tell one. It'd be more interesting if you could see it, but in my entry hall, there is a sun, and if you took your arms and tried to put them together to make a circle, and you couldn't make a circle, just held them up. That's the size of this piece that I'm speaking of, and it's a wood carving that has been painted, and the rays of the sun are all separate pieces that are attached to the face of the sun. And the sun is a very popular art feature in Mexico. They do pottery suns and wooden suns and suns in their paintings, and it's very important to that.
And I can post a photo of it on our Instagram page, actually, so everyone can see it.
Okay. Well, anyway, I fell in love with it, and we were in Morelia, and we were in an antique store, and I saw this, and I thought, oh my gosh, love that piece. And I said, I really, really want it. And Jim said, well, there's no way you can get that piece back to Austin. It's too big. And so I said, oh, okay. Well, anyway, so we were there for several days, and this place was right down the street from our hotel. So I insisted that we go back, and we did. And I said, and bantered around with them about prices, which is what you do there. And anyway, I finally said, I've just got to get it. And I asked the man, I said, will you ship this to Austin? And he said, well, it turns out, of course, that they couldn't ship it to Austin, but they could ship it to Nuevo Laredo. And so it just turned out that we had a man who worked for us whose brother lived in Nuevo Laredo. And I happened to have his name with me. And I said, oh, well, that's wonderful. Will you ship it to this man? And then I'll go pick it up when it gets there. Right? All this, was in Spanish, and who knows whether it was ever going to happen or not. Well, meanwhile, Jim had taken a coffee pot to Mexico, because he loves to have his coffee in the morning when he wakes up. And he had it in the suitcase. And we had a driver, and Jim said, well, let me go outside just a minute. And he went out and talked to the driver, and he said, I will give you this coffee pot if you will take this to the place where they mail things. Because Jim was afraid they weren't ever going to take it to be mailed, because it was kind of away from downtown. And so anyway, the guy said, oh yes, I'll do that. So Jim gave him the coffee. and the piece arrived, and it was in an enormous wooden crate, and arrived at this friend's house. And I'm trying to think of his name. It's a funny name. Anyway, and he called me, and he said, you have got to get down here right this minute. He said, this piece is too big to bring in my house, and it's on our front porch.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody will steal it. So we jumped in the car and drove to Nuevo Laredo and got the thing and brought it home, and had to go through customs, of course. And anyway, now it hangs on my wall, and I love it.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So for 7 years, you suddenly found yourself helping raise me. What was that like?
Well, it was an experience. And, I guess I was 60, 2000, what was I? I was 64, 61. And I hadn't driven a carpool in quite some time. I hadn't been to a school. I hadn't thought about schools and what kids did, and I mean, things were really different from when my children were in school. And computers, computers. Can you imagine such a thing? I mean, I had no idea. And my first concern was getting Henry in the right school and with the right kind of atmosphere for him, because he was very shy and hadn't had a lot of exposure to just the world, I guess you'd say. And so anyway, we did. We got and we got him in a school that was, I thought, a good and appropriate for him, a small private school, and Emily, his sister, as well. And then we started trying to do family things and go to the. My favorite thing was to go to the country on the weekend, and so we have a place, one place north and one place south we can go, and the place south has a wonderful creek, Onion Creek, that sometimes ran and great swimming, and so we did that, and we visited with the family a lot, and also we went to Mexico to a wedding, and we went
yes,
to...
I remember that very vividly.
I know, we went to Mexico for a really fun wedding, and we went... Where else did we go?
I think we went a few other
We
places.
went to Puerto Ranches
A lot, yeah.
And that was our... And Henry enjoyed Puerto Ranches. We all enjoyed Puerto Ranches. And we still enjoy Puerto Ranches.
Yes.
I mean, it's a tradition. My parents went there, my grandparents went there. And under one of the original Robinson Martin families owned a house there. And so we just had felt like it was our second home, I guess you'd say. And, we went to Santa Fe. We spent Thanksgiving in Santa Fe and went to an Indian reservation. So, and at some point we went out to California.
We did.
And we went out there, and Emily, his sister, looked at schools, and but I think just keeping up with the schoolwork was really hard for me. And then cooking and having meals, that was 3 meals a day for 3 people that I wasn't used to. I was just used to eating out of the refrigerator or going out to eat. And then our hours for doing things were different. And we had to be on time to school and on time to pick up from school. And when I would have interviews at school with the teachers, and I'd walk into the school and they'd say, "Hello, Mrs. Tyler." "Hello, Pat. Hi." "Oh, Goody, we're so glad to see you," because I had friends from every generation. Mine, my children's, and then the grandchildren's.
Yes. And why did we always go watch the moon together?
Well, because I love to watch the moon come up. And that was just, I did that as a teenager, and I started doing that, and it was in awe of the beauty of it. And of course the full moon was my favorite, and so I've been, that's been something I just try and do every month. And I got Henry became interested in it too, and we would go over and plan our evening around the moonrise.
Yes,
I told him last week we had a full moon, and I always think about Henry on full moon nights.
Yes, I still love to watch the moon all the time. And you talked about a play that I did that you thought was rather funny.
Oh, he was a great character, and I can't remember the play. Can you remember it? And he was an old man, and he had wore the, it was in the past, so it was that kind of a costume, and we put together, and I don't know where I got it or where it came from, but anyway, it was just perfect, and he had the right accent and the right tone, and he just developed the character beautifully. And then when it came time to go to school to do the play, he said, "I'm not going to do it." And I said, "Oh yes, you are." And, "Oh no, I'm not." And we had a big tiff over that, but anyway, it was fun. I thought at that point, "Oh wow, now he's going to be an actor." So here we are.
Yes, I am good at acting. When you were a little girl, did you ever imagine people carrying computers in their pockets?
Absolutely not.
And what impresses you most about younger people today?
What is what?
What impresses you
Impresses me?
most about younger people today?
Well, I just think they're just so worldly informed, and they can talk about tabs and I can't even think of all the words that have come along with computers that were not even words in a vocabulary that I had, and it just is a whole new world in the sense of the way it was. And I mean, typewriters to computers is, think of a typewriter that you covered up with some kind of sheet so it wouldn't get dusty at night, and now here we are with a slick computer that's tiny and gives you all the instant information.
Yeah, it's crazy. And what's your favorite Austin restaurant today?
Today, I really like Bartlett's, and it's been here a long time. I don't know how long, but it is consistently, since it opened, then had the best selection of food, not American food. It's not, it's strictly American, but their meat is good, their fish is good, their pork is good, their chicken's good. You just can't go wrong with whatever it is you're hungry for, and you have all those selections. And the other day I ate there, and I had for my side cauliflower, the little florets of cauliflower with quinoa, raisins, and parsley. I would have never imagined putting those things together. And it was delicious. And I mean, they're very creative. And as far as, as foods have changed and the amount of different preparations we have for vegetables now, and as well as fruits and everything, they've kept up with it. And the chef is a 50% owner of Bartlett's, so that he's going to keep it at tip-top shape, and he does.
Well, that's amazing. I love Bartlett's too. I didn't realize the chef was a 50% owner of it. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Well, I think I said is to forgive and to not have to try and be right all the time.
Mm-hmm. And your favorite movie?
Oh, Out of Africa.
right, which has a great soundtrack, by the way. I love listening to movie soundtracks, and it's really, really good, a good one. It's such a good movie as well. And if you could spend one afternoon anywhere in Old Austin, where would you go?
Barton Springs.
What's your favorite dessert?
Ice cream.
And your favorite flower? I know that one's tough.
That's so hard for me because I love them all. Oh, gee. I guess I have, well, I don't have a favorite one.
Do you
Whatever
think...
flower I'm looking at or smelling or...
You know, that's funny. I kind of feel the same way. I don't think I have one that's my particular favorite because I like them all so much.
I know. When it's magnolia time, I love magnolias. I think they're incredibly beautiful. Gardenias are just amazing. Roses are fabulous. Bougainvillea, I love bougainvillea. I love orchids. I love cornflowers. I love tulips. It's just impossible to say.
And what's your favorite Texas season?
Favorite what?
Season.
Season?
Yeah, here in Austin.
I guess fall.
I think fall is mine too. I love fall.
I especially love it when we have a fall.
Right. Of course. Sometimes it's very hot. And where do you think is the best place to watch the sunset here?
Well, Mount Bunnell is a pretty good place.
Yeah, Mount Bunnell's a great place.
Yeah, anywhere where there's not a lot of interruption of the, where they're not buildings.
Right.
And you can look clearly openly to the west.
When people listen to this episode many years from now, what do you hope they understand about the Austin that you grew up in?
Oh, that it was just such a nice place to grow up. It was just, like I said, open and friendly and safe, and you could walk, you could drive places, and you didn't worry about traffic, and you didn't, you knew people that you knew would always help you, and just a lovely place to live. Shady, and we have some seasons here. Doesn't ever normally doesn't. They're not extreme, but they're getting that way. We're getting more colder weather and more hotter weather.
Yeah, for sure. Climate change has definitely impacted us. Do you need to take a break?
Yeah.
That's fine, because we're about to get to the news. All right, so let's get to the news. So the first story I wanted to report is this interesting article that says fast walkers have better brain health into their 80s. Older adults in their 80s who walk unusually fast appear to have a much lower risk of cognitive decline and may have more resilient brains, even though they still accumulate typical Alzheimer's type changes. This is the key message from a recent neurology article by researchers at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine on supermovers, and it has important implications for how we think about aging, gait, and cognition in clinical practice, including in a headache and migraine population. I thought that this was really interesting because you have always been a very fast walker, and I've always respected that about you.
Thank you, Henry. I started walking with my dad, and he was a walker. And he'd take off, and I remember in Austin, one time we walked from Enfield Road to Mount Bunnell. And I can't imagine that we did. And anyway, someone did pick us up, but and then at the ranch we walked. He would walk almost every day, and I didn't think of him as a fast walker, but I had to keep up with him. And so it would have been, high school years, probably more than maybe junior high, and then college. And then after that, I walked with him a lot. And he lived to be 94. And my favorite memory of him, he had a black lab, and my son had a feral hog as a pet, and the hog lived out at the ranch with my dad and my son, and my dad would go for a walk, and the dog would follow him, and the pig would follow Daddy and the dog. And it was just fabulous to see the three of them walking along, just, doing what they did, looking around.
That's so funny. I remember all the really cool pictures of that pig dressed up in different outfits.
That pig was
for
something
the
else.
Holidays and different events.
He was he thought he was a dog, and he was raised as a piglet with the dog, and they slept together and walked together and swam together.
Yeah, it's really interesting that it seems that it's quite good for your cognitive health to be a fast walker.
It's good for me because like I said, I love to be outside, and walking is an exercise you can do anytime, anywhere, any place, and outside. And I know sometime on long road trips, I just stop and park the car and get out and walk several blocks and come back and get in the car and be rejuvenated and awakened and ready to go. And you use all your muscles when you think about it. I look at people riding bicycles, and their legs are moving up and down, and they're using their thighs and so forth, but their arms are steady. And walking, you're really moving your arm. And it's up to you what you do when you walk. I mean, you can walk and walk and walk and walk, and they're all styles. But I've just never. And then I've walked. Jim and I walked a lot, and he walks fast. So I had to walk fast to keep up with him. He's no longer able to do that, but and I've slowed down considerably. I'm sorry to say, but reading the article and hearing about it makes me think I'm going to have to pick up my pace.
Yeah, for sure. So the next story I picked out is about an interstellar comet that may be the oldest object seen in our solar system, scientists say. Observations suggest the comet spent billions of years on vast, unimaginable trajectories around our galaxy. I thought that this was really interesting. Let me see here. Sorry, it's being a little slow. So an interstellar comet that blazed past the sun last year could be nearly 3 times older than our solar system and is unlike anything ever before seen in our cosmic backyard, astronomers said on Monday. The comet 3I Atlas is just the 3rd visitor from beyond our solar system that humanity has ever observed. Its unusual brightness offering scientists an unprecedented opportunity to study something that came from elsewhere in the galaxy. After being spotted in July last year, the space rock prompted excitement online, with one prominent Harvard researcher speculating it could be an alien spacecraft, a theory that NASA shot down. Now observations made by the world's most powerful telescopes are revealing more about the unique comet. According to a study published in the journal Nature, it could be up to 12 billion years old. Our solar system was believed to have formed about 4.5 billion years ago. I just think it's so crazy that there's stuff out there that's been around for that long.
Yes, I agree. And also also makes you think about what else is out there that we don't know about and we can't see. And I believe truly in the mystery of the universe and in God's control or watching over or just the creator of the universe. And I think that whether we call something new to us, but not new to the world, not new to the universe. And I have a lot of respect for people who study, who are willing to devote their lives to the study of this and share the information with us. It would not be something I could do myself. But I'm grateful for their.
Yes, it says in the article that they opened a new observatory called Vera C. Rubin in Chile. And according to the scientists, this is just the beginning of an exciting new field. Because of this new observatory, they can spot many more interstellar objects that could not be seen before. It's really
amazing
interesting
what man can do and what we're learning. I mean, we're learning all the time, and I believe that our world is always going to be better because of it.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And then I wanted to move on. Did you hear about the story about the giraffe?
Oh, I did. Gracie the giraffe. I mean, I just thought, can you just imagine seeing a giraffe walking down the road? But I realized that didn't happen. But I'm glad that she was found, and I would really so close to where she was that I'm surprised they didn't find her right away. But anyway, it's good to know that she's found and back where she belongs.
Yes, she spent nearly 2 weeks roaming around the Texas Hill Country following an escape that captured national attention. The 16-foot tall giraffe was safely relocated on Monday morning to Cedar Hollow Ranch near Lee after search crews found her 3 days earlier about 4 miles south of the ranch where she escaped earlier this month. Well, she didn't go very far. I mean, wow. It's amazing that she was missing for 2 weeks.
I agree.
I can't imagine.
They may not have sent, I don't know when they sent the helicopters up, but had they sent them up right away, I would have thought they would have
found her sooner. Yeah. It says the operation was led by Dr. Pat O'Neill, owner of Pedernales Veterinary Center in Fredericksburg, who also helped transport Gracie to the ranch in May. He said he's done giraffe transfers remotely like that before, but this is probably the most exciting one that he's ever done, of course, because it garnered national attention as they offered a reward for her capture in return.
We were hoping that your sister would find her.
I know. My sister Emily wanted to find her, and I was really rooting for her. Yes, she was
very interested in that, and as were many people. And I mean, it's surprising to think that somebody has a giraffe on their ranch. I mean, just right here in Texas. I know there's zebras and other antelope family animals, but I never thought about there being giraffes.
Yes, I know. That is surprising. I didn't even know it was legal to have one.
Right. I didn't either. And we have the acacia trees all down along the Texas coast. I mean, all up to Goliad, for sure. And that's one of the things that that's their food in Africa.
Oh, wow.
And I can see that they could be very happily fed in the area from the Gulf Coast to Goliad with the trees there, and the ranchers would probably like to get rid of the acacias, but
right.
I don't know how they do in the heat because it's awfully hot down there. There's certainly probably that hot climates in Africa where they do exist.
Yeah, I think the heat is okay. I just don't know what you do with a giraffe during the winter, because I'm not sure that they like the cold. So I wanted to mention Ken Paxton was caught on video jetting off to European vacation with his alleged mistress. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton was caught on video boarding a flight to Iceland for a getaway with his alleged mistress, British tabloid The Daily Mail reports. Paxton, a MAGA Republican now running for U.S. Senate, and his purported mistress of 2 years, Christian influencer Tracy Duhon, were spotted boarding a flight Saturday at Washington, D.C.'s Dulles Airport for Reykjavik, the capital of the island nation. He also was captured in a clip rubbing her shoulder while on an airport shuttle after landing, the paper reports. I just think that this is just another example. His infidelity is just another example of why he is unfit to be in a U.S. senator.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And if he disappeared today, I would certainly be glad to hear it. I mean, how he is reelected and by whom, I just do not understand anything that he stands for. And it makes Texas look like a real hick, and I don't know what used to mean. Hick used to mean something different than it probably means now. I don't even know a word to describe, but I just hate this for our state, because it sounds like we don't have any clue about what we're doing, or any morals, or any standard, or any culture. It's just
it's embarrassing for sure. And he is still legally married to State Senator Angela Paxton. However, Angela filed for divorce in July 2025 on biblical grounds following reports about her husband's alleged relationship with this mistress. I just think it's just ridiculous. It's embarrassing, and it's
wrong. It's just plain wrong.
Wrong. There's no other word for it, really.
It's just wrong.
And I know you love tennis, so I had to include a story about Wimbledon. It says that how do you say his name? Djokovic? Djokovic. He breaks Federer's Wimbledon record to reach the quarters. Novak Djokovic claimed that the all-time record for most men's singles match wins at Wimbledon, but had to overcome moments of visible frustration to beat qualifier Roman Roman, I don't know how to say his last name.
Romanian?
Roman.
Oh, Roman? Roman.
Yeah, to reach the quarterfinals. Did you watch that match?
Part of it I watched, and Djokovic, well, his nickname is Noli. His name is Novak Djokovic, and his fans call him Noli, Nole. And he is a gifted, brilliant tennis player. And he has now surpassed Federer's record. And I know he's looking to win another major. And he could do it. He's. I think his talent is just over the top. And if it's the question, of course, is his body going to hold up? Because a 5-set match is really, really taxing on a body. And these 4-hour matches are just brutal. And, every part of your body is involved in that, as all sports are. And you're the only one out there playing, and you're playing the entire time. And it's sure different than a team sport. And I wish him luck. He's good.
That's good. Yeah, it's an interesting. It says the only person that has a better record is Martina Navratilova. She has won 120 times and is the 9-time women's champion.
That's true. And she's at Wimbledon. She's doing some announcing, and it's really fun to hear
really?
her. She was from Czechoslovakia when it was under the Iron Curtain and deflected here and has lived here ever since. And she is just, she's another one of those, athletes that's just the top of the draw. And she'll be appreciated forever as far as women's tennis is concerned. She set the bar very high. And I was in Aspen one time when she was teaching there, and I went to stand by the court so I could hear her.
Oh yeah.
Talking and hear what she was saying to her students. And anyway, she's a lovely person.
That's crazy. I think that this is really interesting. So I hope that. Who are you rooting for in Wimbledon, and when does it?
Well, I'm hoping Sinner will win. I just am very fond of him. He's a young Italian, and I just like his style of play. He plays a bit like Djokovic, and I don't know. It's so funny, you don't know what attracts you to him. But, of course, when Federer was playing, I always rooted for him unless he played Rafael. And then I didn't know which one I wanted to win. But
funny.
In this case, I really want Sinner to win. And I forgot to mention something else about Novak. He has a family. He has a wife that he's had as long as he's been playing. And he has 3 lovely children. And, I mean, he really does seem to have it all together. And he was from a family in Serbia that they had a restaurant on a ski mountain where they sold pancakes and breakfast, I guess, waffles too, probably. And so he was from modest means and grew up during that war and has talked about it a lot. And obviously his scars from it. And he's just made his way and of course he's a national hero in Serbia.
Yes, and then the next thing I wanted to talk about is the drought. It actually has improved. It says right now Austin is in severe drought, but it said that overall for the state it improved. However, they are expecting it to worsen and worsen throughout the rest of the summer.
Well, I find that interesting when we read for weeks there that Nino was coming, and Nino brought rain, and that was going to give us
Right. I really expected El Nino to help the drought, and now it seems as though there's no rain in sight right now, unfortunately. But we definitely always need the rain here in Texas.
This is true, and I mean, it's nature, and nature has a will of its own, and we, I don't know. All I can say is I continue to pray for rain.
Yes, me too. And then I just wanted to touch on one more story. I wanted to talk about the America 250 celebration. Part of the celebration was in New York City. A parade of tall ships sailed up the Hudson River, and spectators were in delight as they watched. Hundreds of people gathered at Pier 84 along the Hudson River on Saturday to watch tall ships sail past and fighter jets streak across the sky as part of a celebration marking the nation's 250th birthday. Spectators from across the country lined the waterfront, taking in the ship parade and aerial demonstrations while photographing dozens of vessels from other countries participating in the celebration of America's founding. I thought that the boats were beautiful in this parade, and they're so large.
It was fantastic. I mean, I was privileged to see those tall ships, a great number of them in Amsterdam in the earlier 2000s, and I was told there that they did this every 7 years, that they I don't know how to say it, suited up and sailed the boats. And I wasn't aware that how many countries had these gorgeous sailing boats. And one of them was the Polish, I think, was one of the largest. And a crew of 340 people, that's just amazing. And when you think of how long it took them to get here, and I don't even think of Poland as being a country with sailors or a military, a navy, learned a lot about our country, other countries by watching that. And my neighbor went to New Orleans and saw the ships from South America that had sailed up. They were docked on the Mississippi there. They'd sailed up to the Mississippi. So it's really something to be aware of. And down here, we're not. Someone told me there was one that was harbored in Galveston all the time, and I did not know that.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And if
either.
there is, it would certainly be worth going to see, because I don't know how else you're going to see them unless you travel to one of the areas where they come. Boston, of course, is. And Baltimore, Annapolis, and New York Harbor. But it's just amazing, and part of the thrill is seeing the countries all dressed in their naval uniforms and up on top of those masts, my stars. It terrifies me to think about such a thing.
Yes, it's very, very amazing. Anyways, I think that's going to do it for today. As always, thank you so much for listening to the Henry Hudson Hour. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. It's not every day you get the opportunity to hear nearly a century of memories, and I'm grateful my grandmother was willing to share hers. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me on Instagram at Henry Hudson Hour or by email at henryhudsonhour@gmail.com. Feel free to send your thoughts, episode ideas, or suggestions for future guests. If you haven't already, please consider following the show and leaving a rating or review wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps more people discover the show. The music featured in this episode was composed and performed by John Bartman. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Henry Hudson Hour. Bye, Goody.
Bye-bye, Henry. Thanks a lot. Enjoyed being with you.
Me too. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
Adios.
Bye-bye.